easy to twist words.
So, what is probably the most interesting case, impactful case that you've ever had?
Well, I mean, I've had the good fortune of representing a lot of people and having a lot of good results. You know, when you asked me that question, a couple cases come to mind. I represented a gentleman up in the Lehigh Valley who suffered a stroke at work.
Wow.
And stroke cases can be really hard to prove because there's so many conditions that can cause a stroke. I was able to prove he actually worked with like a torch in a room that was like well over 150
Oh,
degrees
wow.
Fahrenheit in a like a fire suit. And it was right after he was doing that for some period of time that he suffered the stroke. And now he did have pre-existing hypertension, and that is how the claim was defended. But during the course of that claim, we were able to get his pharmacy records. We were actually able to prove that he was taking his high blood pressure medication. It was well under control, and totally kind of ruled out hypertension as being the cause of the stroke. And we prevailed on that case, which was, you know, life changing for this gentleman. That'll never work again. Another case that comes to mind is I represented the family of a gentleman who passed away. He was actually on a business trip and it kind of hurt his back. Seemed relatively innocuous at the time. Ended up needing surgery. And when he was kind of laid up from the surgery, I guess from not moving around much, he suffered a pulmonary embolism.
Oh, wow.
It was kind of, you know, somewhat removed from the initial event of lifting. It was several kind of steps along the way before he passed, but a complicated medical case, and we won that case. And the children, he had two boys, and they were being raised by his grandmother. And I remember after, you know, the proceeds of the case came in, and I met with them, and I sat there in the room with the grandmother and the two kids who were maybe 7 and 9. You know, they obviously weren't, you know, advanced enough to realize that what had just happened will change their life from an economic standpoint. That I was able to win that case, so I've never forgotten those two boys in that case.
And
So those are a couple cases that come to mind right away. They're just not your run of the mill, you know, kind of orthopedic injury.
yeah.
Complicated, and you know, felt
Well,
great to have good results on those.
and particularly a pulmonary embolism case because it seems like it could be far removed, but it actually started from this initial injury,
It was,
you know.
yeah, it was that initial injury, and it was weeks later. You know, there was some time before he had the surgery, and then he was laid up for a little bit. It just a really sad situation. But yeah.
So, how do you value these cases? How do you determine what this value is? I mean,
Sure.
for the most part, it's lost wages, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
So it's basically a projection of kind of what those lost wages look like over the life of the claim. So the valuation of a workers' comp case is a little more simplistic. It's not simple by any means, but maybe more simplistic than, let's say, a personal injury case where there's pain and suffering damages and non-economic damages that are a little more nebulous. Whereas workers' comp, you can kind of look at the lost wages and project that over time.
But I mean, I guess my question is with people who have, you know, how do you calculate if somebody would have normally gotten a raise during that time?
Yeah.
Are you able to determine that?
Unfortunately, and this is one of the hardest things for clients, is there's no like, you're kind of, whatever your wages were at the time of your injury, that's what you're stuck with for the whole time you're on workers' comp. There's
Wow.
no cost of living increases. You're stuck with that. Even if, you know, you're in a profession that you would have advanced to something maybe managerial or whatnot, you're stuck with what your wages were at the time of your injury, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, at a minimum, there should be a cost of living increase. You know, you've got people who are on the same benefit rate for, you know, many, many years. And it's just, outrageous when you consider, that it was based on their pay from 20 years ago, and there's been, all these changes in our economy. But
And we're going to go to commercial break, but when we come back, I really want to talk about the interplay between the workers' comp and personal injury suits, which may come about as a result of these injuries. This is Justice for All, and we'll be right back after this.